You were told that you will never walk.
I was like, no way. Let the doctors believe in miracles. So when he looked through my bone, he was amazed. He said, oh my goodness, your bone has actually fused back fully. And this is a pure miracle.
Hey guys, welcome to the Men's Forum.
Your guide to being a better man.
Here we talk about everything to do with dealing with the nuances of life as a man.
This is your safe space to finding solutions to any problem that you could be facing as a man.
We're your hosts Rajveer and Shalin, and today is a really exciting episode. We're bringing in our first ever guest. This is someone who has a really inspiring story to tell. She's actually a cancer survivor. And not only has she survived cancer, but a hip replacement surgery after that.
She is a symbol of strength. And just for viewers to understand, she's had the rarest cancer. I think she's 1 out of 5, or probably the 5th to have it in the world.
A really inspiring story, really touching, and we think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So welcome to the show, Bhakti. We're super excited to have you.
Bhakti has been a symbol of strength to many, especially to people who've been fighting cancer. And the way you fought it, the way your journey has been super inspiring. We had a conversation once and I was like, wow, this has to go out there. And I personally think that after this podcast, after this episode, the people who are going to be watching will feel that, hey, we're not alone. Yeah. So let's kick off and
take us through your journey.
Thanks, Shalin. Thanks, Rajveer, for having me here to talk about my cancer journey. Yes, the whole idea behind sharing this journey is to inspire others. And I wasn't alone in this. There's so many people battling cancer. Unfortunately, the cases are maybe one out of every 5 families have been diagnosed with cancer. I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's primary bone lymphoma, which is a very rare type of cancer. Actually, only 2% of the people in the world end up having this type of cancer. And it took me 6 months before I got to diagnosis. And it didn't even happen here. I had to go to India, and within 7 days, they told me this is what it is. It was such an unexpected journey. There's no history in the family. And my pain just started with the stabbing, shooting feeling that I was having at the back of my leg. And I ignored it for the first month because I used to do a lot of kickboxing and dancing and all other physical activities. So I actually ignored the first month. Later on, the pain only worsened, and I started visiting, all the doctors who could help me figure out what this pain is. And so I pretty much ignored my entire pain for a month. I actually flew to Maldives, celebrated my 30th birthday while I was in pain. Wow. Because this problem started in July 2022. And August 11th, actually, it's my birthday month.
Oh, nice.
So it makes me happier to even share my journey during this time. And yes, just after I celebrated my 30th birthday, things went downhill completely. But that was not the end of life. I still had a good time in Maldives. I still took my painkillers from the pharmacies there. I still consulted all the doctors while I was on holiday because this pain only kept on getting worse. Anyway, long story short, when I came back, I started visiting, nature cure doctors, thinking that maybe massages and other detox therapies might help me, and ended up visiting a chiropractor who diagnosed me with sciatica because all my symptoms were related to sciatica. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I ended up doing MRI for my spine because that's the treatment that I started receiving. And after that, my reports were completely normal for my spine, but my pain, however, never reduced. And I went to a spine surgeon. I went to a doctor who's a spine surgeon, and he told me your spine looks absolutely okay from your MRI reports. There's absolutely no sciatica, but what you need to do is see an orthopedic doctor because your pain seems to originate from the hip joint. And so I visited an orthopedic doctor. here in Nairobi. And he said, like, you can try these medications, and maybe because you're a kickboxer, it could be that you have multiple like muscle tears. And after that, I did a MRI for my hip joint because I was not able to bear the pain at all. And he told me that you have osteomyelitis. Osteomyelitis is basically a type of bone infection. And it's bad bacteria that goes and attacks the bone. So it wasn't that also, because after he did my blood works, he said, no, this is not even osteomyelitis. This could be a nerve related issue. And that's when we, as a family, we decided like, let's go to India and probably get this checked, because at that point I was not even able to put my leg down.
Before, let's say, the India journey, all these medications that you are taking at different stages,
Yes.
was it affecting your body by any means in terms of were they reacting with your body? Because you're not treating the cause of the pain, but you're just trying to manage it. But was it helping you, or were there any side effects?
Oh, yes. I took a cocktail of medications. I mean, starting from the basic medication, which is just Panadol, I then upgraded to so many different strong painkillers, to a point after every half an hour I was popping a pill. But of course, it was only helping me for a certain duration of time. It wasn't really it wouldn't even keep me going for like the entire day. And that's when I was like, there's no way I could be taking such strong painkillers and still my pain is, not reducing. And if I used to tell all the doctors, like, something is eating inside me. Something is that's how I can describe this pain.
What was going on through your head when, like, you're going to all these different doctors and they're not giving you the answer that you're looking for? I mean, they're giving you a diagnosis and then you go and test it out for a couple of weeks thinking, I'm going to be better. And then you're not getting better. So what was kind of going through your head during that process?
At that point, I was I was going to give up. That, you know what, like, I might as well lose my leg at this point, because no one's able to tell me what this is. And I remember a doctor telling me, you're such an enigma. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And he's like, the way you're defining your pain, it's just so hard to figure out like what it is. But what we can do is do a biopsy. What really disappointed me was there was no scans done before I did my MRI for the hip joint. Before that, I was only getting treated by the wrong doctors. And at this point, I was really losing out in time. For example, when I was going to the chiropractor, he told me you need one session every week. So I lost a lot of time, and that was only making me worse, because chiropractors usually do a lot of manipulation of the bone and of the body as well. There's a lot of cracking and stuff that happens. So you get that temporary relief, but by the time I'm even reaching home, my pain is already like shot up again. But obviously I knew like there's no way I will be limping. I mean, I've been limping for the past like 2.5 years now, but that didn't mean I was going to give up fully. I just wanted to know what is wrong in my body and how I could treat it. And that is why we made a call as a family, and we're like, okay, you know what? We've been to several doctors now, and unfortunately, I haven't gotten any sort of relief from the pain. So let's go to India and see if, the doctors there are able to get to the actual diagnosis.
In cases in the what you've just mentioned, do you feel like many people who ignore pain or a rash or something should definitely go for full scans or not ignore all these signs? Because
100%, yes. I think regular body checkups, especially with the lifestyle that we all have, the amount of pollution that's around us, the kind of vegetables we're getting these days, the kind of meats we're getting these days, it's very, very, very important. There's a lot of diseases that have now come up. I mean, COVID being the most crucial one. So it's very important for both men and women to get this regular checkups, Before we used to think like once a year is okay, but I think once every 6 months should be your target, and never ignore pain. I mean, a lot of us fear so much, including myself. I never used to do this regular health checkups because I had the biggest phobia of needles. Little did I know that I had to go through so many at some point. But we always tend to fear going to the doctors, and we feel like, no, why should we do a scan? But never, some people will think it's a waste of money. Why should I go and spend in the hospital? There's nothing. They have that confidence in them, or they're in denial. So it's very important. I mean, if your scans are clear, well and good, but never have that regret of, it was just a waste of money, or no, there's nothing wrong with me. So please, to everybody out there, to men, to women, all the children, please always get regularly tested.
So could you say a yearly scan would...
Even if once in 6 months, if you can, there's no harm in doing a full body checkup.
Let's go back to the rest of your story. So you went to India.
Yes, so I went to Apollo Hospital in Ahmedabad. I actually went here on a wheelchair because at that point I already knew I had a hairline fracture. That's what the doctors had told me. So he said, for you to go to India, there's no way you'll be able to put all your weight on your leg, and you'll have to take a wheelchair. So guess what happened? Like, straight from the airport, I got into the ambulance and I went to Apollo Hospital. We had pre-booked with the doctors, and they told me to come with my entire history, whatever had happened in the 6 months, because I literally flew to India after 6 months. So for that duration, I was suffering. At midnight, got admitted. As soon as they read my history, the first thing they told me was, please dump all the oral medications that you've taken. These are going to be very harmful to you. We don't even know the damage that it's already done because of the list that you've given us of the medication. And we'll put you straight on IV. And I just mentioned that I have a big phobia of needles. So they immediately put me on IV just to manage the pain. And then they started ruling out. So because I mentioned sciatica and I had all the symptoms of sciatica, they involved the spine, all the spine doctors, the spine surgeons. India they have their own protocols that they follow. So they didn't go by any scans that I had given them, that I had. So everything started from scratch. Spent 2 weeks in the hospital, but within 7 days, they did on my third day, they did a biopsy. And even for them, because they've never heard of a case like this before, it was very hard for them to get to diagnosis. But somehow, I had a very good team of doctors, and they managed to get to diagnosis. And they said, look, we've ruled out everything that's related to the bone, but one thing is alarming. And I was like, okay, and what is that? Because I thought it could be TB or, osteoporosis, or I would have never imagined the word cancer. And I remember being in the hospital. And before that, they actually told me, you will not be able to step out of this bed for a very long period of time. And I said, why? And they're like, you don't only have a hairline fracture, you have a big pathological fracture. Your hip joint has almost broke open, and you will be bedridden for a good 6 months. Because you can't really cast on a hip joint. And they said we can't really operate because there's a tumor in your bone, and this can only heal while you're in bed. So within 7 days, I remember I got there on 30th November, and 7th of December. And 7th of December was my brother's death anniversary, who I just lost 2 years ago. And that was the day I was diagnosed with cancer.
Wow, that's painful.
Yes, it really was at that point.
How did you handle the whole pain? Because I'm sure you had remembering your brother, just getting so many shocking news at once. How were you handling it mentally? Why were your parents around with you, or was your family with you?
I think more than myself, my parents obviously went through a bigger trauma. I don't only have one brother that I've lost, I have two brothers that have passed on. And when I looked at the date, and that was the day coincidentally, the doctors walked in and said that this is what you've been diagnosed with. Actually, when I got to India, I told all the doctors, like, they have this tendency of not telling the patient what the diagnosis is, or what the problem, what the health issue is. They normally speak to your guardian or your parents. So yes, I had a very good support system with me. My parents were with me throughout. And I had my partner there as well when this was being diagnosed. So the doctor told everybody, walk out of the room. And the news was actually given to me alone. I was completely alone in that room when I was told that this is what you have, because that's exactly what I told the doctors. Like, I want to know what it is. Just don't hide it from me. Hide it from our parents. It's okay, but don't hide it from me, because I know what they have been through as well. So it wasn't easy. It doesn't hit you at that point. So when the doctor told me, Beta, you have cancer, I actually smiled. I was like, oh, wow, okay, I have cancer. It didn't hit me. It's like a woman, a girl getting married. They want to cry on that day. They want to feel, the pain of leaving leaving home and everything, leaving everything behind. But later on, I think it hits a woman really hard, like 1 or 2 weeks later.
Wow.
What is the smile from? Like, were you glad that you finally got an answer, or?
I was glad that I finally got an answer, and I was glad that I have to battle something I never imagined in my life, and that was the time to test my strength, how much strength I hold within myself. And I looked at my parents, and my mom really prayed to get a daughter. So I was like, hey, mom, you're not going to lose me just like that. I will have to fight this. So I was like, 2 bulls, myself and the cancer, let's go heads on.
Wow.
Oh my God, that
I would cry.
I would start crying also. I think a lot of people have this, wow, I feel like 99.9% would be taken aback, and they'll be like, my life is over, I'm done.
Yeah.
This is the worst possible news I could ever get. I mean, okay, it did hit you two weeks later, but in that moment, I feel like how much mental strength you must have built in the past to bring you to this point where you're like, okay, this is going to be a test of how strong I am in this life.
Yes, exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I think later on in the podcast, I want to go through that with you in terms of what have you kind of done in the past to make you actually build that kind of mental strength. So what happened next?
Yes, after that, the doctors told me, first of all, they wanted to get my consent because my parents were outside the room. I was just there with the nurses and the doctor. And actually, sorry, the nurses were not even there. There was just the primary doctor who was in charge of everything. And he said the next thing is, now we know it's a tumor. Because it's been 6 months, we need to do a full body scan to see how much of the cells have spread in your body. And that we will not be able to answer immediately. Only the PET scan will determine how much of this thing has spread. And he's like, let's keep our fingers crossed. So I said, okay, how soon can I do the PET scan? And he's like, immediately. Now there's no waiting. We've already waited for 6 months. I mean, you've already waited for 6 months. So there's no more waiting now. We immediately at 5 o'clock in the morning, the very next day, we'll do the PET scan and we'll get the results by the evening. So non-Hodgkin's primary bone lymphoma is actually a very aggressive kind of cancer. Very aggressive. I was so lucky that it was only spread 10 centimeters within my bone. It didn't cross. It didn't spread anywhere else. So I got very lucky that way. And they had to obviously then call in an oncologist who was supposed to give me the entire plan. And because this was a bone cancer, they needed to also keep an ortho-onco who was talking about the entire healing process of the bone itself. So I had the entire team of doctors, the guy who did my biopsy, the primary doctor, the ortho-onco, the oncologist himself, and later on came the radiotherapist. So I did my scan, and yes, like I said, I was very lucky. The only thing is, they said you will not be able to sit on the wheelchair as well. You'll not be able to toss or turn. Your bone is in such a bad shape at some point, like we might even have to do a surgery. So everything was quite overwhelming. I mean, I didn't want to hear the word surgery, but I knew my bone. I mean, they showed us all the scans, and they're like, just look at the condition of your bone. It's really, really, really bad. And that's probably because you delayed that long. So they said you have to do chemo, you have to do radiation, you'll have to be in India for a certain duration of time. Every cycle, you'll have to give it a gap of 14 to 21 days. It depends on how your body is going to, respond and stuff. So that's when you start really building more strength, because chemo side effects are not the most pleasant ones. I think it's the worst feeling when you're going through chemo. It's very painful. And I chose the hardest way of getting chemo because there was different options that the doctor gave me. I didn't want any more. I thought like just drilling into my bone was enough. So I didn't want to get the chemo port, which is where they cut on your neck and, give you all the drugs through the chemo port. Or you put like tubes in your arm. So they find like thicker veins where the medicine is not so harsh. But I used my hands throughout. And they said this is the most painful way of getting chemo. And I said, you've anyway diagnosed me with all the pain, like, the worst disease somebody could think of. So let's get more pain. No problem.
Plus, I'm a kickboxer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I completed my cycles.
How many cycles did you do of chemo
I
and
did
radiation?
seven.
Seven?
7 chemotherapies and 25 radiation.
25
Yeah.
radiations.
Yeah.
So chemo comes first.
Chemo comes
And
first.
then radiation. Okay.
Yes, in my case. Yeah,
Okay,
chemo
okay.
comes first. And when you're going through chemo, your immunity is at its lowest. I got 3 emergencies during my 6 months. One time I got a bacterial infection, one time I got a viral infection, and one time I got a reaction out of taking an extra jab from the new kind injection that they give you to increase your cells in the body, your white blood cells in the body. So that was very challenging. But more than that, I think the most challenging thing for me was being completely bedridden for 6 months, lying on your back. I had even forgotten what the floor looks like because I used to go in the ambulance, come back in the ambulance. My chemo would last more than 9 to 10 hours. So it's quite a painful, it was quite a painful treatment.
Did you go through bed sores for being lying down?
Almost
straight?
did. They had actually told me be careful of that. So to avoid that, you just probably have to get somebody to just give you a slight massage on the back using some coconut oil and stuff. So I did get a few, but I didn't let them get worse.
Yeah.
Yes.
So bed sores are basically, I think, when you sleep in one position for a long time.
Yeah, then you just
Yeah,
kinda-
so it's kind of a growth, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
So you'll see patches like some.
Yeah, it's like your skin actually
Yeah.
peels
Oh
off.
my
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's scary.
And it's kind of uncomfortable because you're in that one position all the time. I know, like, generally when I'm sleeping, I like toss and turn because just facing up for like a long period of time gets annoying. But you have to do that for
6
6
months.
6 whole months.
Yes.
Wow.
That was, I think, more than cancer, that's what was almost shattering me.
Yeah.
Because you're in bed, you're sponging in bed, you're eating in bed, you're doing your other business in bed. You're just looking at the roof, at the ceiling the entire time. You're not able to move. You're stuck around, like, you're just looking at 4 walls. If it's not at home, you're at the hospital. So there was never a moment that I felt I could even look down at the floor, because every time I was looking down at the floor, I was like, I know I'll be there soon, but I didn't want to look at it already knowing how long my journey was going to, how long my treatment was going to last. So it was quite tough.
And I think something else that would come along with that is you're alone with this other
Your
voice
mind,
in your
yeah.
head.
Yes.
that's telling you stuff. So just take me through that. You wake up in the morning, and were you awake for most of the time, or were you asleep for most of the time? That's number one.
Okay. I was awake most of the time. Chemo gives you serious insomnia. A
Oh,
lot.
wow.
Like you cannot sleep. And again, at night, you're actually thinking the most. You're overthinking quite a bit. I am an overthinker. But at this point, my mindset was the best tool that came handy. There was not a single day I sat back and thought, why? I never questioned why me. I was like, try me. If I kept on questioning, why did this thing come to me? Why did God choose me? I would have never found my answers. But at that point, I thought, even if I'm bedridden, that doesn't mean I'm not able to do stuff. Let's identify what I'm good at. I was given a piano. I was like, I'll try on YouTube, learning piano. I love marketing and I love sales. So I enrolled, while I was getting chemo done in the hospital, I enrolled in a content marketing program. So I was doing that. A lot of my friends sent me like canvases where I could kill my time painting. And I was like, wow, I'm actually doing such a good job with everything, because I don't even have so much of an attention span. So the fact that I was even able to enroll in another course and just educate myself was time that was spent really wisely. And I needed a distraction at that point. But at the back of my head, I was like, you know what? Let's look at the finish line. I stopped looking at the calendar. I didn't want to keep track of time. I didn't want to keep track of dates, because that's when the journey feels a lot longer.
So you were more of, I'm going to enjoy the process and I'm going to enjoy the journey instead of the actual destination.
Yes. And I did that by celebrating like small victories.
Small
Every
victories.
time I was done with chemo, I literally used to buy myself like a little cupcake or some dessert, or just buy myself a present. I had my friends, my family was literally, like my mom and dad did not move. I had my belief in God, obviously. I did a lot of prayers, more than I usually pray. I did a lot of meditation. The biggest thing that helped me pass this was law of attraction, affirmations, staying strong, being positive, being grateful. That as a package really, really, really helps me.
So the law of attraction, were you introduced to that when you got cancer, or did you know about it from before?
Literally 2 months, 2 months before is when I was just randomly having this conversation with a friend. And he was like, do you know of law of attraction? And I was like, what is law of attraction? And he was like, oh, whatever you want in life, anything in life is possible to achieve just by law of attraction. And you need to get into manifesting. So I kind of got interested because I had actually applied for a job, and I had this dream of working for a multinational company. And that's the company I actually ended up getting. So I was like, you know what, let's try. Let's see what this law of attraction is. So I asked him, how is it practiced? And, he was like, you have to do a lot of visualizing. You have to write down every day. You can download pictures. Like, let's say this is a multinational company. You already know what the setup looks like. So start downloading pictures, look at them every day, write down, in a diary or wherever you want on your phone, like even when you're out of a shower, in the mirror, using this team, write everything positive. And I was like, what kind of crap are you telling me? Like this is life that easy? And he's like, try it. So just as jokes, I tried it. So the company that I was working for, Fosrock, I started manifesting every day, like, I am working there, I'm wearing the suit. I pictured everything that I wanted to do in the company. And guess what? I actually got the job. And
Wow.
I was so amazed. I was completely blown away. That law of attraction works in such a powerful manner. And that just tells you your mind is capable of doing amazing wonders that you can think of.
So from what you just said, I am, right? The power in I am, it's the greatest thing ever, because you'll say, I'm
Correct.
working there, I'm going to fight this, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to
Yes.
be cancer free. So I understand when you said I am, that's why I was just reflecting on it. I am is the greatest tool that
Yeah, it just gives me
everyone-
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Even
Yes,
looking,
yes.
Because
Yeah.
even I think for Rajveer and I, we never imagined doing this, and we were like, I am going to do this.
Yes.
And
It's
now
not I
we're
will,
doing it,
it's
yeah.
I am.
I am, yes.
You have to be in that moment. And I had this journaling that I was also doing. So if anyone ever had to open that diary, it's all about I am healthy, I am strong, I am running, I am jogging, I am out of cancer. So it really helped. It really, really, really helps me.
So, how did you wait? First of all, I think it's really great that you got to experience the law of attraction before your actual battle with cancer.
Yes.
Because you know that same thought at the back of your mind, like, what is this voodoo nonsense magic stuff? Like, does it even work? But you saw that it actually works. And so when you were using it during your time of battling cancer, your mind wasn't questioning, is the law of attraction real? Or was it? Were you questioning, or were you
No,
fully?
not at all.
Exactly.
By that time, I think I really got into good practice. Obviously, remember, like when you're going through chemo, you're also doing like a lot of scans. So they will keep on checking, is this treatment actually working for her? And that's why they say that cancer is curable if it's detected at the right time. And that there's that anxiety, that's scanxiety, I would say, because you're going for a lot of scans after that, and it's painful. I mean, it's very, very, very painful, because they inject this dye, in your hand. You're given contrast water. It has its own side effects. You either throw up or you get the loose motion from drinking that contrast water, and if any of that happens, you're forced to drink that water again. So it's really nasty. It's really nasty going through that scan, and the dye that they inject again while you're inside the radiation rooms. It's very, very, very painful. Worse than that, like, okay, even though you've done the scan, it's now what are the results? What are the results? So that's when I also used a lot of law of attraction. I was like, you know what? My results are absolutely normal. The doctors, just exactly what I wanted to hear from the doctors is what I was writing down. And that's exactly what I heard. So law of attraction was my best friend, I would say.
I think you had mentioned to me once you had a near miss.
So when I got the 3 emergencies in the
Wait,
middle
what's a
of-
near miss?
So I think she was very, very crucial at that point, where I think the doctors even were like super, super scared.
Yeah. So what happened was my blood cells dropped really low. I was just with my mom. My dad had just flown out for like a week to sort things out, and then he flew back. So I don't know if that was the effect because my dad left. But the night that he left, I got a really bad fever, a really, really, really high fever. And that's when the doctor said, like, they'd already given us a whole booklet of things that, you should rush. I mean, things that you shouldn't ignore. And having high fever was one of the things. So I remember like shaking on the bed, and I didn't want to stress my mom. So I just told her, Mom, I just want to sleep. So I ended up sleeping till like 6. I was just shaking and shaking. I wasn't feeling right. That's when you feel like, okay, I felt death has come and kissed me, or like death is telling me, let's go. I'm here, I'm here to pick you. And you're like, hey, no, I'm like, I still want to live life. I'm not ready for you. That's how I felt. And later on, when my mom walked into the room, she was like, I don't care. I'm not listening to you. You look completely pale. There's something wrong. You look dehydrated. She called the doctors, and they said, immediately rush her to the hospital. And that's when the doctors were a bit worried. My mom thought as well that she was going to lose me completely because my body was turning black. It was fully dehydrated. They had to immediately give me drips and stuff. And guess what happened? Because my back was really hurting, The nurses give me a hot water bottle, and now I'm bedridden, and the water bottle decides to burst on my back.
Oh my God.
So,
Oh, that is.
yeah. So there was like, I'm like, okay, I'm here, in emergency. But as soon as I'm taken to the
can't even
ward,
move,
and you
right?
can't even move, and the nurses were not even present. So I'm looking at my mom, and I'm like, Mom, my back. And she's like, oh my goodness, like what the hell is going on? And immediately called the nurses, and they're like, we're so sorry. Like we don't even know like how this has happened. But they immediately controlled the situation. So, I mean, the reason why I'm even bringing this up is, remember, it's not only cancer you're battling. There's so many other challenges that happen in between. And it literally feels like you've been dumped inside hell, but you have to come out of it. I'm like, it's okay, God. Keep throwing all the curveballs at me. You know what? Let's play a little game here, and let's see who the winner is, because I knew I was going to be the winner of this.
But I have a question. I don't mean to sound insensitive at all, but I just think there's power in words. And, like you do mention, try me. And do you think that's kind of the universe just testing you, like, how much faith do you have in me? And I'm just going to keep trying you because you say, try me, try me, try me. So you get thrown all these curveballs because of that word.
Yes, the universe has very funny ways of testing you, but trust me, if you have a really strong mindset, if you have that willingness to achieve anything that you want in life, everything is doable. And that's another message that I would sometimes, we fail. It's okay to fail. We get really disappointed, within ourselves, and we're like, okay, it's okay. I'm just unlucky. But no, never give up. Never, never, never give up in life. Everything that I wanted to, I set like very short-term goals for myself during this journey. And I was mainly focusing on how do I achieve these. And that really helped me pull through, because there was so much I wanted to do in my life. I mean, at that point, I'm like, no, I want to live life. I want to get married one day. I want to have my children one day. I want my parents, to watch me grow. I wanted to be there for them. So there was many things that I set for myself. I always wanted to start my own business. So that's when you're also talking to the universe. You're like, no, come on, like, hello, let's like negotiate here, okay?
So wait, how long was your treatment period, like overall, from the moment you got to Ahmedabad?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah,
Okay,
6 months.
So in 6 months you were cancer free. Can we say that?
No.
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 Okay.
I wouldn't say I was cancer free, because the doses that they give you, they don't immediately start killing and that's why you have like a certain number of cycles. And then what radiation does is they kill the smallest, the tiniest of the micro cells, just in case. Though I was very lucky. By the time I completed my chemo and I did my scan was completely clear. It was actually clear, and my bones started healing as well. So they said, let's just do radiation as a precautionary thing.
All right. And are there any side effects of radiation? You already mentioned for chemo.
Many side effects. Radiation is a non-invasive process. It's obviously less painful, but you tend to lose a lot of weight. I actually gained for some reason because my mom was just feeding me throughout. Like literally, I became a big balloon. And everyone was like, even the doctors said, people normally lose weight during cancer. I mean, what's happening to you?
That food was made with a lot of love.
Yes, it was. And I mean, eating is no fun because your taste buds are not there, your smelling senses are not there, you end up losing your hair, there's loss of appetite, you're constantly nauseous. Even if somebody would open like a paneer tikka, that smell can really get to you. There's so much. The steroids that I was given 100 milligrams of steroid every single day. So you can imagine how much hunger also kicked in with that.
That was for
But my
pain.
treatment was very harsh.
So the steroids were for pain management.
No, it's part of the CHOP treatment that I did.
Okay.
You have to give the steroids because that's what maybe helps to numb the pain and, to just control the pain.
So what's our shop treatment?
Our CHOP, I wouldn't know much details about it, but it was a blend of 6 different drugs that the doctors, the oncologist, had to even cook up because he had he literally told us, you're the first case. For all the doctors in India, they've obviously treated many cancer patients, but they've never treated the type of cancer that I had in their medical practice. Yeah. So even I was a guinea pig. I was literally a guinea pig for the doctors.
Did that ever lead to a level of fear in you? Like, other people have mainstream cancer, but I have something that's so rare. Will these guys ever be able to? Or the law of attraction for you was just like, I don't give a shit.
No, I went and did a lot of research on these doctors to see how well.
So you bestowed your trust in them?
Yes,
okay,
I had to.
Good.
There was a lot of people who told us get a second opinion. But the minute I literally didn't look at them as doctors. I'm like, these are God-sent angels and they have come here to help me. And at that point, I used my brother's loss as my strength as well. And I'm like, hey, listen, I got diagnosed the day I lost you. So I know your hand is above me and there's no way the doctors are gonna go wrong in this. So I did a lot of research and the doctors answered every single question that I had for them. There were plenty, and he said it's okay to ask, but just have confidence in this treatment. And they also told me you're the 5th person in the entire world who've been diagnosed with this kind of cancer. So
5th?
Yes.
Shucks.
And they are like, you have gone into our case studies. And at the end of my treatment, they gave me a very big party in their boardroom in Apollo Hospital, which was very heart touching for me.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I just want to take you back when you mentioned the food and the diet that you're having. Was there any specific custom diet that you were having, or you were allowed to have anything?
I was asked to avoid a lot of the outside food, just stick to hygienic foods. There was many antibiotics that I wasn't. I mean, again, I was given a lot of medications right after chemo. You have to take a lot of steroids even during chemo. So they said because your immunity it's at its lowest. So they said a few things. They said don't meet so many people. You may never know what can get to you. So have very limited people around you. Always have the room sanitized. And in terms of diet, at some point they asked me to avoid fizzy drinks, teas, coffee, or dairy products because they kind of interfere with the bacteria in your gut. So they said you don't want more complications. But I really went through crazy amount of other things, hemorrhoids, flus, fevers that comes with chemo. A lot of throwing up happened. So yeah, it was painful, but other than that, I was eating everything at home. There wasn't any restrictions as such because there was never an answer to what caused this.
Is sugar one of the biggest enemies of cancer?
I'm smiling because when I asked the doctors, they smiled at me as well. We all assume that this could, maybe because somebody drinks, maybe because somebody smokes, maybe because somebody is constantly eating unhealthy, maybe this one's a sweet tooth. So that could cause cancer. So they said, it's okay to have, especially now, during treatment, we're not going to give you any restrictions, but we'll just give you a lifestyle talk. And they said you could be avoiding, there are people who have never taken sugars in their life. They've never drank, they've never smoked. These are actually gym trainers and they end up getting cancer. So sugar could not be the problem. More than sugar, stress could be a problem. So stop stressing.
Stress is definitely
stress
huge,
is something we can't ignore.
In my mind, I'm not seeing you as someone who ever broke down crying in that process. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right, but I wouldn't say I didn't cry at all. Every time, again, I was doing my scan, my ortho-onco kept on telling me, my dear, you'll have to get a hip replacement. And I was like, no, I'm not going to get a hip replacement done. And he's like, trust me, your bone is, it's fusing back together, but you'll still struggle to walk. And you've already been through so much. So you will have to get a hip replacement done. And obviously, like you miss home. You don't want to spend anything longer than 6 months. And, in India, like different weather changes, the climate, you miss your friends, you're just in bed. And I was like, if I have to get a hip replacement done, I have to spend longer, maybe another 6 months in bed. So that's completing a whole year. And I'm like, okay, will I survive? So every time he used to tell me that, tears would roll down from my eyes. And again, I went back to my diary and I was like, I'm not getting a hip replacement done. My bone is super strong. I went and actually bought a toy bone and put it right in front of me. I had. By the way, I was given that option to put a TV in my room. I refused. I chose to have at least like 8 positive frames. Actually, a friend gifted it to me, the guy who taught me about the law of attraction. And that's what we pasted on the wall. And every morning I would read that. It was all positive affirmations. I was surrounded. I made a little whiteboard. I got a pin board to myself. And every day I would get sticky notes, obviously get my helper to pin those for me so that in the morning I'm just reading that and feeling motivated to battle, the next day, to live the next day. Yeah. So I did cry, but maybe I didn't cry enough.
No, I mean you had a tool in place to
Yes,
keep you
to manage.
in the positive of the whole mindset.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Not a lot of people know about law of attraction.
Yes.
And so then when I think of law of attraction as just one more tool to be closer to God.
Yes.
And when you're closer to God, like you don't really fear anything else.
Yeah.
So when you're practicing that, then there's no reason to cry because you're there. Yeah.
Yes.
Something I strongly remember about Bhakti. You had put a post on Facebook the first very day when you learned about the prognosis, and then the day you walked. So I don't think I followed the whole journey in between.
Yeah.
But when I saw your video, because I'm not very active on Facebook, when I saw that video of you walking, and I'm like, wow. Because she was told, I think you were told that you will never walk.
I was told,
again.
I was told you'll have to wait because you can't immediately operate after chemo and radiation because that's like your bone has gone through enough trauma and, remember like my bone was really manipulated. So that's where the trauma actually came from. So yeah, they did tell me that until we don't do your hip replacement, you might not be able to walk. But I kid you not, before I went to the ortho-onco, because he was my final destination at that point, like he was the one to tell me whether you will be able to walk or you won't be able to walk. And prior to that, I have flooded my diary with like law of attraction. And I was like, no way am I going to hear from the doctor that you have to get it. Not at that point. So literally, my mind became even stronger and I listed down all the positive things that I could think of. And I was like, let the doctors believe in miracles. And seriously, when I went to Dr. Mandeep, my ortho is such an amazing doctor. When I went to him, he switched on the anesthesia machine. It took me to the operation theater. I was like, oh my God, I've already seen one during biopsy. I don't want to see another operation theater, because he wanted to see the movement of my leg and he had to give me anesthesia because he didn't want me to be in so much pain. And the minute he looked through, I forgot what machine he had. It was a C-arm machine where it shows you details of the bone. I don't know if we have one here, but anyway, technology and its thing. So when he looked through my bone, he was amazed. Like he was so amazed, and he said, "Oh my goodness, your bone has actually fused back fully. And this is a pure, pure, pure miracle. He's like, I have never seen this happen. And that's when I thought, imagine what your mind is capable of doing, because I did not, I knew what I wanted to hear from the doctor. I didn't want to hear about that whole hip replacement rubbish at that point that he was, he was telling me. So it really, really, like, it worked quite a bit for me. And he told me walk, and that's when I cried, because that was tears of happiness and joy. Yes.
Your mind is so powerful to heal your body.
The power of the mind.
Mind is beautiful.
It's beautiful. Trust me. If you train, if you're strong mentally, you can never break down physically and emotionally too.
Have you heard of the placebo effect?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have.
So it's all literally just tricking the mind into law of attraction. It's like, oh, I'm eating this pill that is going to heal my whatever it is, that the pill's just water.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all in the mind, literally.
Your mind's the biggest powerhouse that you have.
So that was at the end of 6 months.
Yes, that was at the end of 6 months. There's a transition. So obviously, you can't just also start walking. I was on the wheelchair. Then I went to the walking frame. After that, I was in crutches, 2 crutches, and then 1 crutch. I had to do a lot of physio. And that's when I started getting my mobility back. Obviously, after every 3 months, I have to keep on doing a scan, for at least for the first 3 years. And then after every 6 months for the next 2 years. And then probably once a year for the rest of your life. So yes, I started getting my mobility. I completed my treatment, and I got my mobility back. That feeling of just putting my feet down was the most amazing feeling for me. I mean, that was actually an achievement. And I was so proud of myself at that point. The fact that I was able, because yes, like you said, I really thought I was never able to walk. And the cases that I saw when I used to visit the the orthopedic oncologist, there were so many kids, and they also had bone cancer, not the type that I had. I think it's called sarcoma. That's the most common type of bone cancer as well. It really attacks a lot of kids. And I saw that they lost their legs. And that's when I said, God, like, I'm so grateful. I'm still so lucky. Despite of being 6 months to diagnosis, 6 months to treatment, at least I'm able to, I'm able to walk again. And it wasn't the best walk. Obviously, like, I think when I walked in, you guys still saw me limping. This year, when I did my scan in January, I got bad news again, because the doctors were very happy with how the bone healed. The bone fused, everything was okay. Unfortunately, my bone healed in such a manner where it left the socket of the hip joint. So the angle of the bone changed. And because of the bedridden situation, the steroids that I took, the chemo, the radiation, plus the pathological fracture that I had, caused the cartilage around the bone pretty much got worn out. And the doctor said, you have to get a hip replacement done. So I was like, okay, I mean, now I'm ready. Now I'm not fully ready, but it's okay. We have to do, at this point, because it had been like 1 year, until like just when I got this news. So I was like, okay, it's fine. I've gone through the harder bit in life. Maybe the hip replacement pain will not be as close as the cancer pain. So he said, come to India in the next 3 months. I mean, this is not an emergency case, but unfortunately, you also have a lot of muscle fibrosis and your bone is getting resorbed. So you will have to get a hip replacement done from the scans that I'm seeing. But let's discuss when you come to India. So I got my hip replacement done this year in April. It's just been about 3 months, but that's another blessing in disguise, because what had happened was when the bone tilted, my leg became shorter. So there was a lot of friction and my leg became shorter by a good two centimeters, which was quite a significant difference. Yeah. So that was also making me limp, and I had to just get approvals from the oncologist, and they said, it's okay, you have the go ahead. I told Dr. Mandeep, I have a dog at home. I want to take that bone with me. Will you please?
Oh, that is so funny.
And he was like, only you would say such things, Bhakti.
Oh, man.
Did he actually give it to you?
He was like, I can give it to you, but unfortunately, because this was a cancerous bone, we have to send it to the pathology and they will store it for you. So anytime you want, you can take the bone, but we'll give you the biopsy sample. So again, they do a biopsy just as a protocol and, in whatever they do, like before the hip replacement, especially if it's a cancerous bone. And this was on a Wednesday. I remember I met him on a Wednesday. And he said, go think about it, because it's, like I said, it's not an emergency. You can take another 2-3 months, but I don't think you'll be able to survive another year unless you want to be in pain. It's like nothing, your bone is fully healed, as you can see from the scans, but you will have to get a hip replacement. So he's like, when do you want to do it? And I'm like, tomorrow. And he's like, not tomorrow. I'm not available for you.
So going to the supermarket and buying
You remind me of myself. I'm very impatient like that. It's like I want things done now.
Because I was like, anyway, now he's told me you have to get it done, right? So why should I delay? The sooner I get it done, the better for me. Like the faster I can run. Anyway, he's like, no, we can't get it done tomorrow, but let me see. I have to keep another, because like your case is a little complicated. He's done about 44,000 hip replacements. For them, it's like making chapatis. So it is
44,000.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. It was, I think for them, it's like, oh, yay, we got another like hip replacement patient. They're so efficient is what I'm trying to say. So I didn't have to, be in any doubts of getting the hip replacement done. He gave me a lot of options, three options about the hip replacement. One being the bone cement, where they use the bone cement. The other one is a ceramic. And the third one is the titanium. And he said, obviously, that's the best one for you because you're young and, hip replacements, the older you are, the concept is the older you are, that's when, like the better that's when it's good for you to do the hip replacement because of the lifespan. It's an artificial joint at the end of the day. Yeah. So I was like, okay, again, he's like, you're such a complicated person, because I'm like, what is this option A, option B, option C? Is it like a sales strategy? Like, hey guys, if plan A doesn't work, we're going to use plan B. And if plan B doesn't work, we're going to use plan C. So he's like, no, the reason why I'm telling you that is because I need enough bleeding. And when a bone is radiated, you might not get that bleeding that I'm looking for. But if the bleeding is sufficient enough, then we'll definitely use the titanium whatever implant. So yeah, and he said I have to keep just a specialist for the hip joint who only does hip joint, like hip replacements, nothing else. And he's like, that's only because your case was slightly complicated and stuff. So, and that's exactly what he did. He said that will have to do like a full body, scan and checkup, and this just basic protocols. They check your mental well-being. They have a counselor who will ask you, are you ready for this? So it's nice. I mean, it took me back again to that whole, process of how things work when it comes to mobility and stuff. And then he said, yeah, like you won't immediately be able to walk. I asked him, is it going to be painful? And he was like, no, it won't be painful. And he's like, you shouldn't even be asking this question because after what you've gone through, the hip replacement pain. Yeah. So he's like, don't worry about it, but there will be a little bit of pain. And obviously he was never going to tell me the truth about it until I saw what happened after. And Sunday morning at 6:30, actually Saturday night, I told my partner, listen, we need to go shopping. And he's like, shopping for what? Tomorrow at 6:30, you have your hip replacement. I'm like, I want to shop for the hospital because I'll be admitted for like 10 days. So we went shopping like happily. And, we bought pajamas and Crocs and room sprays because hospitals always smell so nasty. And I don't like that smell at all. It really puts me off. So we went and got like scented candles and blankets and pillows. And he's like, you think you won't have to wear the hospital clothes? I was like, no, I'm going to ask Dr. Mandeep. He has to be nice to me. And I asked him, I was like, can I not wear your clothes because I'll feel more sick? He's like, okay, for you we'll do that because for you we do so many things. I did my hip replacement, lasted 4.5 hours. A very, very, very painful surgery. It was a nightmare. Like, I told the doctor, take this implant out of my leg because I couldn't move. I mean, it was quite a challenging journey of its own, but that only lasted 6 weeks. So when I compare 6 months to 6 weeks, it's very much doable. And I had to do the whole cycle again, being on the wheelchair, getting on the walking frame, being on the, then moving to the crutch. But it happens a lot faster. The recovery happened a lot faster. The full recovery takes about like 1 year. So that's the phase I am in right now. It's been 3 months. I probably have another 9 until I fully feel recovered from the hip replacement. And obviously the key to that is physio, very active physio.
So every day?
Every day. Yes, I have been going every day, except the weekends. Yeah, so Monday to Friday.
Why are you skipping the weekends?
I'm a Nairobi Street Kitchen. Like...
yeah. Don't limit yourselves, guys. Do what you do, whatever you feel like.
Like I said, you have to live your life. No, but you have to give your body, just a little gap as well for your muscles because it's very painful. Getting physio done and having to get that mobility back is really, really painful also. So getting the mobility back is very important. So you can't have a day where you're not doing physio. So before I left the hospital, I was like, oh my God, I'm seeing this walking frame again, like, a whole year later. And you wouldn't believe it how the universe works. And some dates are, I don't know, they're good and bad. So I completed my radiation on 28th of April. And the day of my surgery, exactly 1 year later, was 28th of April.
Wow.
So I have something to do with that. That 7th, dates also really play a crucial role in life. And I left my walking frame I donated it there, and the doctor is just looking at me. He's like, you don't want to use the walking frame anymore? And I'm like, no. And he's like, this motivation is what you need, because he's had patients who are on the support, and for 2 years, absolutely fine. The scans also show normal, but they've not been able to let go of the crutch or the walking frame, or they just want to be on the wheelchair. As I left, he sent me such a beautiful and inspiring message. And he said, it's amazing how somebody like you, a patient, we are also happy to have a patient like you where we can, talk about your journey and also inspire his patients not to ever give up, to give up in life. And I was like, that's why I'm giving you my memory. Like, take the walking frame, at least whichever patient will be using it, you will remember me for that. And here I am today. Like, I in fact left I left my support sooner than I had even thought, and I'm so ready to run next week.
Oh, nice.
Next
Beautiful.
week. Oh, wow. That's so cool.
I know I wouldn't be running yet, but why should I tell myself, like, I'm going to manifest that again? Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely going to run.
Yeah.
You can race Rajveer, I'll watch.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I have...
There's a tingling question that I have. You mentioned that you didn't see the floor for ages. So did you kind of have a build-up moment in your mind to that first time when you saw the floor after all these months?
Yes, I did. I bought myself running shoes, because I was like, the day I get back on the flight, I had already thought of what I want to wear. I don't even know. My mom actually organized for a very pleasant surprise where she did a grand welcome when I came back, and just that feeling of I was so ready. Like, every day I told myself, no, I want to walk, I want to run, I just want to feel the floor. And imagine who would ever appreciate, who would ever think that you're going to start appreciating things like that? So again, this journey teaches you appreciate the smallest of things in life, even if it's something like the floor. When people complain of oh, my hair is giving me, I'm having a bad hair day. And I'm like, listen, don't complain. My friend, don't complain. I had no hair, so appreciate what you have. Don't keep nagging and don't keep complaining, because those who don't have what you have are the ones, who will appreciate you end up appreciating things more when you've lost it.
Practicing gratitude is very important.
Yes.
You always appreciate the life that you have because you have it better than someone else. Do you think, I don't know if Rajveer, you did a bit of medicine in your career. Do you think the technology that we have here isn't the best? And maybe this country's India, where you went, and the machinery and the good biomedical engineers that are there are probably making amazing machines for detecting this. Is there a gap?
Yes, there is a gap. It would be from if I had to compare apples to apples, the technology in India is very, very advanced. I'm not saying the technology here is bad, but they could improvise and at least, get the right. I think now maybe I've not really like gone for PET scans and stuff here, but my last trip in India, the machine that they had was amazing, and that's where you feel really comfortable even going for a scan, because you're so into patient care, patient safety, patient comfort. There's a MRI machine that they had literally in 2 minutes. The MRI is able to do a full body scan, and the images that you get are like, wow. It's very, very precise. And it's not about, when you're investing in this kind of machines, it's not about spending the money, but at least if you have something like that available, you're able to exactly see what it is. Like if I look at my scan, the first x-ray that I did here, which was labeled as a hairline fracture, it was not just a hairline fracture. It was a lot deeper. It was a lot
man.
a lot deeper than just a hairline
And then
fracture.
here you wait for 2 hours in line to probably get a scan, and then they tell you come after 4 hours for results.
But I really feel for the people who don't have the privilege of being able to go out of the country to seek treatment. Now, how you were just constantly being misdiagnosed. People go through the rest of their lives until death,
Yes.
just being misdiagnosed
Yes.
here. So I think that's really, it's
Yeah,
sad.
that's why it would be very nice. If the treatments were also affordable to many, cancer has become like as good as having a flu. I mean, just the amount of cases that I have heard ever since my journey, it's really sad. And it's not even about age at this point. We think, okay, the older, maybe this person is old and it's just old age and that's why cancer has triggered. But when I even went for my hip replacement, I didn't even see any old patients. They were all kids. And I'm talking about from 8 years old to 13 years, all battling cancer. So I wish as a community, especially in our country, somebody could come in and, just make those treatments affordable, because some people have cancer. I've also heard of cases where they don't even talk about it. They know that they're last stage. They don't want to stress the family. They want to really suffer in silence, suffer in pain. They leave a note behind and quit life. But I got amazing support during my journey. I mean, if it's different when you're battling cancer, you have it, but then it's even nicer when you have a great support system behind you, starting with my mom, my dad would believe, in our guru. I felt like his blessings were always with me. There were so many stories that were brought to me as well about different people. And that's how I was able to also battle. It wasn't only, other than just my mindset, just seeing other people overcome cancer. There was a lady who I spoke to and she's like, I've done 12 surgeries. And I was like, oh my goodness. She's like, it started with my stomach. It went to my spine. It went to my lungs. And she's a survivor till today. She's like, why should I quit life? In her case, she had kids and, she's like, there's no way. So when you look up to your loved ones, you have siblings, you have your mom, you have your dad. It just makes a whole other difference and I really hope that there are many cases that the doctors told me as well, that people actually run away when, you get diagnosed with something life-threatening. Like, we as doctors are telling you, so be grateful, of your partner who's been there with you throughout all your cycles, your mom and dad, obviously, and more than that, your mindset. And I had a lot of friends who would come visit. My cousins came visiting me. Like, it was like, that wedding period where the woman is getting all the attention. So yeah, they would come and laugh with me, and we used to take pictures. I remember when my head was being shaved off. It was, I didn't even look at the mirror at that point, and it's sad losing. I mean, I had very long hair. I don't know if you remember, but I had very long hair. So to lose all that, seeing your skin all different, you're losing your eyebrows, you're losing your eyelashes, you literally look like an ape or something, or like an alien. So it's hard. It's quite hard, but it's okay. Beauty comes and goes. I think when people look at me now, they wouldn't even know I battled cancer.
You don't. Yeah, she doesn't look at all. Yeah, you look like exactly the marketing and sales person.
I'm happy. That's because I got all my healthy hair back.
Just bring in a scam.
Yeah.
But I think, there's just something that I'm really feeling deeply right now is how many people in hospitals we have that don't have family, that don't have friends. And I was being told this a very long time ago, that the biggest form of seva is, how would you say that in English? Voluntary work.
Yeah.
And just greatest fulfillment is go to a hospital and just go to a patient and just say hello.
Yes.
People are suffering through these things alone.
Yes.
And you could just bring the biggest smile on their faces. I know I'm talking about it, and I wish, I would do it more often. But I think if, anyone out there who's thinking of doing big forms of seva is this. Go out to a hospital and talk to patients.
Especially the, the cancer, the kids who are battling cancer. It's really sad when you see them, and poor thing, they don't even know what cancer is because they're so young. They don't have knowledge, but they're still smiling. They're literally they wave, they would just wave at you. They obviously know that, hello, we're all in the same ward. So there is something in common that we're battling. And it gives you hope for the ones who know about cancer, like myself. But it would be nice, that even here, not only, in India, I find the entire medical is completely different. Like, the doctors used to tell me, do you know, we meditate before we walk into the patient's room. They actually meditate. They have all this mindfulness and wishfulness apps that they have. And they're like, if we come, we have bad days as well, but we have to come in with a lot of energy. And that itself also was a game changer when I was battling, because when they come in, when they go for their rounds and, they walk in a team of 7-8 people with the nurses and the other doctors. So when they come in, it's not like, hi, how are you feeling? It's like, hello, how are you doing? Come on, why are you looking sad? Have you eaten? What can we get you? Do you want ice cream? Just that energy, that positive energy changes everything. And not only in terms of cancer or in any other ailment, but just generally in life. You surround yourself with a lot of positive people, surround yourself with that good energy. It really makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in life.
Doctors must be seeing traumas that none of us see on a regular basis, because the way you mentioned it, you are calm. Some people are reactive.
Yeah.
In terms of the parents will break down, the person will break down. Some people are weak. Some people probably, as you said, get their legs amputated or get their hands amputated.
Yeah.
Or kids. So imagine the trauma of doing that. Even to a kid, or to seeing the kid. So.
Yeah. And that's where mental strength comes in, right?
What you said is amazing what they do. I don't know if people are practicing this today.
They say a psychologist.
I wish everyone's doing this.
They say a psychologist and a counselor also needs a
psychologist.
Yeah. And a counselor, because they hear so many things, and it does take a toll on them. But imagine the beauty of it is, it's not it's the mental strength that they have built for themselves. They have to make themselves strong to be able to see that. And I don't think you're just born strong. You have to really train your mind in such a way where you don't let things like put you down in life, or, you know, don't, like I said, don't get disappointed in yourself. When I believe, like, if you're cycling and you have to fall down and there's nobody, there will be a hand all the time to, hey, get up. But if you fall alone, don't stay there. Get up and bounce back, and just look at the positive out of every situation, you know, you go through in life. Like when I thought my hip replacement, of course, I've kind of forgotten. Like I mentioned, you know, you guys have taken me back to my journey, which is so nice to remember. But after my hip replacement, I pretty much forgotten what my cancer pain was
Yeah,
like.
you live life like
Because that was equally painful. It was really, you know, it was not an easy thing, because when I walked out of the surgery of the operation room 4.5 hours later, there were IVs on both my hands, on my foot. I've never had an IV on my foot, even not when I was battling cancer. I had a needle on my spine. I had a tube that was tied, you know, inside my one.
To remove the bad blood?
Yeah, to drain out all the protein and the bad blood after the surgery. And they come and pump in spirit inside. So it's very painful. But even when there's pain in life, you need to learn how to enjoy it. Everybody asked me a very tricky question. Why did you decide to post your journey on social media? Not everybody is able to do that. And there is a positive and negative opinions that people have about this. But and I told everybody, like, when everyone's on holiday, don't they post? They post, right? They want to talk about the good times when they're just generally happy, when they're at a party, when they're in a club. So why not post your bad times and at least inspire others? Because there's so many people who are not able to talk about the problems that they're going through in life. And I don't think that should happen. At least have somebody who you can talk to. And you may never know, like, through your journey, you're inspiring so many other people. And I'm glad I shared my journey, because so many people reach out to me, and I'm very lucky. I feel blessed that I'm able to pass the strength that I had, if not all of it, at least a little bit of it. And they're very happy. Like, you know, they said, now when we think of pain, we're like, if Bhakti could do this, I could do this too. And I'm not only talking about cancer. I've had, like, so many friends are like, oh my God, our back was, you know, my leg was really hurting. My back was, you know, my back is really hurting. And they're like, no, don't complain, because what Bhakti went through. So through that, at least if people are able to even manage that pain or just build that strength, I mean, what more can I ask for in life? You know, that's really a true blessing for me, passing on strength to other people.
What I had learned from you posting your A to Z journey, I think my capacity of pain automatically went up. Okay. I'm being honest. Just not that, because I'd mentioned to you that my dad had cancer as well.
Yes.
So it's just not him dealing with it. The people around you are also dealing with it.
Yes.
So if you just, you know, resonating that energy around, giving it out the good vibes and the strong vibes.
Yes.
I'm not lying to you. My capacity of pain automatically went up.
Okay,
and
I'm
again,
glad to
and
hear
also
that.
like you have 110% inspired more than at least 1,000 or 2,000 people within your own community, right?
Yes.
I'm sure. And that is
I
why
hope so, yes.
this journey is super beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you think she should write a book?
I think you should write a book.
Oh, okay. I want to write a book.
I was one of 5 patients in the world with this sort of cancer. That's a whole
I
book
always
in of
thought
itself,
about it, like,
man.
what would I name, you know, like, because a lot of friends are like, come on, Bhakti, it's high time you write about your journey. And I was like, okay, what would I, you know, I gave it a thought, and one day I was like, living life upside down, because that would be a good, like, title.
Yeah, I don't think you should be saying this on the podcast. Stop giving your book names away.
No, we just hope no one copies your idea. But I think you should, because we now have all the tools for you to write the book, or
Yes.
you have all your pointers, you have your journey.
Yes.
We can use AI to probably do it. We know some
I think
publishers and
Charlene
presses.
you should have an entire podcast on how to write a book.
No, no.
Yeah, I don't mind that one.
No, her journey is so inspiring. We need we don't want 1,000 people to hear this. We want 100,000, 200,000
Yeah.
people to hear it, because your whole journey shows us that so many factors are ignored by many people, even with those who are diagnosed with probably cancer or a chronic illness. And what you explained, you did everything right after 6 months, after all the misdiagnoses. So for everyone to get to that step, they need to hear you out, or your book, or probably hold some forums about this, or probably how to manage cancer, how to not get to cancer. Even
Yeah.
that can happen, right? Not to get to cancer, the way you said, the checkups and stuff.
Yeah.
Lifestyle change, I think.
Yes. You have to make a lot of this minor changes. Initially, like when I came back from India, there were so many fears in my head. There's always going to be a fear. Actually, at the back of the mind, there will always be that fear that if I breathe this, it might be a problem. If I'm working in a chemical manufacturing company, it might be a problem. If I'm eating fried food, it might be a problem. If I'm eating sweets, it might be a problem. And then one day I thought to myself, really, do I want to live life in fear? Just because I battled cancer does not mean I'm not going to live my life. I will live my life moderately. If I want to have a glass of wine here or there, it's okay. Don't punish yourself. Be happy for those who have actually overcome and battled. I have so many friends now who have battled the same disease. And it's fine. It's okay. I learned through my journey that always prepare yourself for the worst in life. And you do end up losing. Like right now, I'm not working, right? I had to lose my job because I had to focus on my recovery. After my hip replacement. Initially, I was just thinking yesterday that when I came back from my cancer journey, from battling cancer, within 2 months I was back at work. Actually, within 2 months. In fact, the company that I manifested, they were like, I told them I want to join within a month. And they're like, no, just relax. You've just come back. Don't get too excited about coming back to work. But they're like, it's so nice to see that motivation. I mean, you immediately everyone was like, you already want to go back to work? I'm like, I've not worked for 6 months. I mean, hello, I want to put on my safety shoes and my helmet, and because it's a construction company. So yeah, I went back to work within 2 months. Again, 1 year later, I was not able to work. And again, you see, when you have to go through a certain, and this is something that the doctors told me, that don't worry, work will always come. If anything happens to you, your number one priority in life should be your health. If you don't have your health, which you're a classic example, you won't have anything. So don't be disheartened when this kind of circumstances happen where you're not able to, work. And like I mentioned earlier, find positive in every negative situation that you are in life. Problems come and go. There's no need. I mean, stress is like unwanted thoughts. Why would you even put yourself through that kind of stress in life? Just take life with a pinch of salt. Life is never a straight curve. It's never a straight line, sorry. There's always a dip. There's high lows. But keep bouncing back. You have to keep going. You have to keep bouncing back. Help others. For those who you mentioned, some people don't even have parents around them. Unfortunately, they're just alone. So reach out to the community. Reach out to the society. It doesn't make you you won't have any bad labels if you're just going out there and seeking for help. So
Goosebumps.
Yeah, I mean, this entire conversation, I've just been getting goosebumps.
I think Rajveer usually talks a lot. Today he's not talking at all.
No, just
I've taken over.
no, such amazing information.
I'm loving how empowering you are. I've this whole conversation, all I'm thinking is I really need a stronger mindset, because you have the strongest mindset. I see you're going to do beautiful things, in your next
I still
few
think
years?
I'm weak. I
Yeah.
actually still think I'm weak because I have seen people go through worse. And when you look at that, you're like, oh my God, how did they overcome something like this? Like this amount of stories, the amount of stories that I heard during my journey. They were sad, they were heartbreaking, they were very, and always keep one thing in mind. There's always somebody out there who's going through worse. Actually, what I went through was probably not even a fraction or a portion of what other people have gone through. And if they're able to live life, then you can too. You really can too. And you should. You should. Just please, to everybody out there, to all the men, to all the women, I mean, what you guys have, set up is very inspiring to so many people. And these are the kind of forums, we need for because everyone is going through. There's always somebody who is battling something. When you sit, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going through this, or I've been diagnosed with like, oh, I have thyroid, or I have cholesterol, or I have diabetes. I can't do this. That's why I said, don't focus on things that you can't do. You need to focus on, oh, okay, this has happened now. What more can I do? Always put yourself through this test, and then you'll be amazed with the wonders that happen. You yourself will be, you'll be very shocked and pleasantly surprised of the things that you're actually capable and able to do in life. I never thought I was going to be able to even put hands on a piano. I kind of lost practice now, but I literally started practicing, learning how to play piano. I never used to enjoy reading. I started getting into reading. So I was able to identify a lot of talent that I was holding back through this journey. And I mean, I know that there's still worse to come. There is hip replacement, and cancer is not the end. The end of the
We
journey.
might have
Hey, or
COVID.
maybe, or maybe your journey with that is done now. Now you just get to enjoy life.
Yeah, the journey is done, and I also enjoy it. That's why I tell everybody, cancer happens to the best of us, and people just look at me like there's a moment of silence because they think, is she just talking out of pain, or is that even normal? Is that normal to say? But it's true. God tests those who
Can
are
withstand
very
the
strong and
pain.
who are capable of battling.
I just want to take you back to the pain factor. I feel it's very important to express pain, because when you express in terms of, let's say that's how your journey started. If you didn't express, you would have not been able to resolve. And also when you talk about pain, it kind of takes some weight off your shoulders automatically. It's not necessarily you're looking for empathy or you're looking for attention, but when you speak about it or you just express it, somewhat your body just feels better. Okay, I've now
Yeah,
let it
you
out.
need an outlet, right? You definitely, and anyone can choose. Like some people, are introverts. They don't really want to talk about their journey. They feel judged. I think majority of the time that's the reason. Like, what is this one going to think of me? But why should you even care? I mean, if you're a person who wants to talk about your journey, talk about it without having to fear what other people are going to have and like what they're going to think. So pain, yes, always. Of course, there's the physical therapies that you get, there's the medication that you get, but other than that, you do need that emotional outlet as well. It's very important to, even if you have to sit down and write down your feelings, talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, you will end up bottling everything inside you, and then you will start questioning every sort of pain that you're feeling. Once you've spoken about it and it's out of the system, you'll actually be taking a deep breath and you're like, oh, I feel so much better. So do it with your best friend, do it with your mom, do it with your dad, whoever is close enough to you. Talk about it, as long as you have that trust and faith and that confidence in that person. Please,
I think that there's a way to distinguish between complaining and talking about something. Complaining is just sitting there and feeling sorry about yourself and hoping that people around you feel sorry for you. That prolongs that emotional pain, right? But then talking about it, expressing it is completely different. Expressing it is like, hey, I'm feeling pain and I think I need help. So that's the one thing that we're saying, don't complain.
Yeah.
Don't sit and feel sorry about yourself. Empower
Yeah,
yourself.
do something about it. Life is too short to like stress and, you know, be unhappy or be in anger or be in sorrow or be in any kind of hurt or pain. You have to, there's a solution, and you need to know that everything that happens in life is always for the better. It's always for the good. Like, I never imagined, first of all, overcoming that phobia of needles. I mean, now if somebody tells me, oh, Bhakti, we want to draw blood, I'd be like, take my entire body. I will, even if you want to even if you want to prick like 8 needles on me, it's fine, do it. So phobia, again, like, you know, it's all in the mind. The more you strengthen your mind, it can be like the tool that's, you know, you're like a weapon. You'll be able to battle anything. We can be like superheroes, you know, just battling all our problems just with a positive attitude in life. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bhakti, for coming on to the Men's Forum and, you know, sharing your very inspiring story. The two of us, telling from our goosebumps.
I appreciate you. I honestly appreciate your presence. Me and Rajveer will never shut up this much.
Is there any projects that you're working on right now, or is there anything that you'd like to tell our audience that, you know, you want to plug? You mentioned that you are working on your own business.
Yes.
Do you want anyone to? Are you open to talking about that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting me do that. Obviously, like I mentioned, I'm not working, but at the same time, remember I said that I had a goal that I wanted to meet, which is starting my own business. I'm selling this anti-hangover chocolates. They're called Party On. You just have to take one little piece before you start drinking, and you will wake up feeling fresh the next day.
Really?
Wait,
Yes.
so does
You
that
guys
mean-
look very fresh.
Does that mean you can drink and then the next day you don't feel?
No hangover.
No
And it's
hangover
made
at
out
all.
of all natural ingredients.
Okay.
All 100. It's fully natural, and it's a dark chocolate, so it's healthy. They come like 2 pieces in a box, so
Okay.
you will thank me later. For those who've already tried those chocolates, they've already like they're so
Testified
happy
to it, yeah?
about it.
Charlene
Yeah.
will thank you later.
Hey, whatever we're doing, we're in it together.
We're in together.
We have a page for that as well. It's called Party on Africa.
Party on
Yeah.
Africa. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll put it down.
We'll link it down
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
description.
Super. Okay.
That's your solution to no hangovers.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again for coming on. This has been an amazing conversation. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this week of Men's Forum.
I just want to say a big asante to Bhakti. Thank you so much. You are our first guest.
Wow.
And thank you for being patient with us as well. I know we've taken up a lot of your time, but thank you. Thank you so much. It was super inspiring, super beautiful, and please write a book.
Thank you. I really appreciate Rajveer and Charlene for having me here. It's such an opportunity, and it's amazing what you guys are doing. Keep doing that, and let's be our brothers' keepers.
Alrighty.
All right.
And with that, we will see you guys next week.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Peace.